welcome back to another edition of
Old Wine Wednesday.
Today with a wine that's just as old as me. That hits different, doesn't it? So I guess we can call it Old Justin Wednesday.
Yes, 1981, Dr. Barolet, Gevrey-Chambertin.
Back to Burgundy, folks, because home is where the heart is. This one, though, is particularly interesting because of the history around the good Dr. Arthur Barolet. Now, to set the table here, at this time, the entire French market, not just Burgundy, was basically dominated by shippers. Now, shippers were that handful of company, like, let's say, Nicolas or Van de Meulen, who would cherry pick the best barrels from the great domains, ship them, bottle them themselves, and then sell them with, of course, their name on it. In Burgundy, this was particularly odd because sometimes they would pick and choose how they would bottle the wines, meaning if you wondered why, you wouldn't see very many Premier Crus coming out of, let's say, the 1920s or 30s, or even if you saw a bottle of Moët Saint-Denis, probably it was because they were blending it into the Gevrey or the Chambol, or they were blending Premier Crus together, or they just wanted to label it because no one cared back then. No one was interested in this or that particular micro plot of this or that, which was better with this guy than this guy. No, it was a whole different ballgame. It wasn't until about the 50s or at least late 40s when that little group down in Volnay, as the Volnayese like to claim, Volnoise, anyway, the citizens of Aulnay like to claim that with that little clique of pioneers, Marquis d'Angeville, Michel Lafage, Rossignol, and of course Gevrey-Chambertin, started finally bottling these wines themselves, partly because they wanted to get their wines to the people the way that they intended them to be. There's a lot of controversy surrounding the good doctor in that, although he was incredibly passionate about Burgundy, and he bought countless numbers of barrels, hoarded them in his cellar, bottled them at some point later to sell to his own private customers. He wasn't a winemaker, he wasn't a somm, he was just a doctor who loved Burgundy. He also had very good taste, and he happened to pick out some of the best barrels in any given producer's cellars. Because I can tell you, some of the things I've had from the 20s, the 30s, the 40s will absolutely make your head spin. Insanity. Now, if it was 100% Pinot Noir juice going into those bottles is a different question. There seems to be a little debate, as was not entirely uncommon back then, that maybe if a barrel was supposed to age a little longer, maybe if it was from a slightly weaker vintage, maybe there'd be a little cognac or port wine ending up into that juice. Is that the end of the world? No. Was the wine delicious? Absolutely. So who cares? And I mean, come on, let's be honest here. I've had some 59 Mouton, which tasted very suspiciously of old port. I've had some 20s Pommard from Monsieur Violon, another contemporary of Mr. Barolet's, which was a little hot on the back palate. Maybe like, I don't know, brandy? Anyway, after his passing in the 1960s, his estate was taken over from his sisters, and then finally a lot of these stocks were opened up to the world. So we were seeing the market getting a steady flow of these things through the 90s and the 2000s, and that was when I got my first taste of Barolet. After that, Henri de Villemont took the company over and continued the production and continued releasing these wines under the selection of Dr. Barolet while supplementing it with their own new production from partners in the various villages, so as a négociant. So obviously this one's not going back to the ultra old school Barolet, but what I wanted to say was, I know sometimes I sound like a broken record when I say there's no bad vintages, there's only bad wine, but it's true. Now, 79, 80, and 81 are three vintages that no one really talks about when they're reaching for a great bottle of Burgundy, but they were actually quite solid vintages, and from great producers, they can be really surprising to drink right now. And this Gevrey, from a slightly weaker vintage, but actually good, let's say underrated vintage, you might pass over it when you first open the bottle because you might think, I don't know, maybe it's tired, maybe it's dead. But this is, like I always say, another perfect example of a Burgundy who's got 40 years or more on it, who just needs some air. After about an hour and a half, this thing, kaboom, just blossoms, explodes, leaps out of the bottle. That crazy old Gevrey, meaty, gamey, animal-y thing, that unmistakably dark griotte cherry fruit, like animal, barnyard, flowers, nutso. I mean, crazy. Would ever think that a village wine can go 45 years in your cellar and not even blink an eye? Are Burgundies even made this way anymore? All these low intervention things that are already basically like Kool-Aid when they come out of the bottle, are they gonna go this far? That's a question best for the comments below. But all I know is, in a lot of cases, you can honestly say they don't make them like they used to. Sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes that's a bad thing, but it is what it is. Cheers to Dr. Barolet and his legacy, and to the next great old bottle of Burg you pull out of your cellar. Let me know what you've been drinking lately in the comments, and I'll see you next week.